Alright, decided to do another quick video here on a complete EVAP removal. Still within the 2020 pandemic, so I'm looking to do things with the car and get it ready for the next autocross season. So this is a complete EVAP removal from a 2003 Audi TT with a BEA engine code. This is a USA car, so it's going to be a little bit different for UK. There are lots of other videos out there that I've seen for the UK, but this is for the USA. This is everything removed here. Here's your charcoal canister and your tank here and all your hoses. About 7 or 8 pounds of junk that are basically for emissions. So I will warn you before you do this, some inspections, some countries, some states, some counties require this for emissions testing. Actually in Pennsylvania, my county also requires this for inspection for emissions. But what I've done is I've applied for a classic license plate since it's a 2003, and that exempts me from any emissions checks. So the other thing is you're going to encounter some check engine lights. Some you're going to be able to defeat with resistors. Some of the other ones you're really going to need to have some sort of tuning software, like Maestro will enable you to get out of these codes and get rid of the codes, and I'll take a look at that at the end of this short video here. Some of the possible codes you're going to see is a 441 and a 449. These are checks that the computer is going to do to see whether there's a leak in this EVAP system. So we'll take a look at that too, but I'm not sure if Rostec you can defeat these codes or not. But here's a look at the complete EVAP system. Here's the canister in the spare tire well in the back. And what we're going to do, there's 3 hoses connected to that. We're going to leave this line open, and that is the larger white line, and it's going to be a vent line. We're going to cap 2 other lines, this line here and this line here that goes to the intake manifold. So first thing I did was I went to the back of the car, jacked it up, and decided to remove the big charcoal canister. It's really the most weight in this whole setup. So if you're not really going to, remove that, you're not going to get rid of a lot of weight. So here you have to remove 3 bolts, 3 nuts really, and there's going to be some hoses we're going to disconnect. So here's 3 hoses we're going to disconnect. One of them comes across the top, is a hard pipe, and then 2 white pipes coming in here and connect over on this side here. Now the first thing you're going to do is there's some clips. Here, this is the cover. There is a cover covering that canister in the rear. It is up in the wheel well. So here's a couple of clips, couple of electrical clips for wires. Now I ended up removing the sway bar in the back. Doesn't take too much to do it, although I don't really have much of an exhaust system on my car. So if you have an exhaust system, your standard exhaust, you're going to probably have to remove that and the shield. There's a shield that covers this whole thing also. I have my shield all off because I use it for autocross, so I don't use it. So it's pretty, when you look up in here, it's pretty barren on my car, but you might have a lot of other stuff. So I did have trouble getting the cover off and decided to remove the sway bar. And there's 3 nuts. First, to remove that cover, to get the cover. And then once you have the cover removed, here's your EVAP canister. And then there are 3 studs that you're going to have to remove. Now here are your hoses here. Here's this is your vent line here, this largest one. This is a line that goes up front, and then there's another hose that runs up top and then connects on the other side that we're going to remove also. Here's that hose. Here's the pump basically, and the hose comes up and plugs into this pump here. This is the leak detection pump, and this is probably one of the fault codes that you're going to get, because this is going to pump air into the system and check for leaks. Now, I did not resistor this out, and possibly if you resistor that out with maybe a 330 ohm resistor, maybe 1 watt, something like that, with the proper connector on it, you might, chances are you might avoid that fault code, but I'm not sure. All right, again, remove the clips. There are clips on these hoses here on the canister itself. So let me go back here one. Okay, so here is the canister now removed. You can see here the 2 hoses. There is a hard hose that connects over on this side here where the pump is. This is the filter over here. And here's your electrical connection. So this is one of those typical connectors where you're going to push. It's really on this side where you don't see it, but you're going to push the little white tab, and as you push that in, you'll be able to remove it from the canister itself. All right, so here is the hard pipe here. Here's the canister removed, and here's your hollow wheel well now with that canister removed. All right, here is your pipe. This is the hard pipe here. This hard pipe and this small pipe here, these both go up front. And we'll see those in the engine bay on the passenger side for the USA. So this hard line, you can go ahead and remove it completely. This large white line here, there is a white hose here. What you can do is just keep that open. I ended up sticking a little filter on it, but it's venting for the gas tank itself. So you want to keep that open. This small line here is another white line. It goes up front and you can remove it completely also. So with the canister removed in the back, what we're going to do is we're going to go up front. You have your N80 valve right here that you can resistor out with about a 330 ohm resistor, and they do sell these online quite a bit. You can get them on eBay, so on and so forth. As long as you get the right sort of a half round connector. It's a little different than the N249 and some of the other connectors, so it is a little bit different. With Maestro, you can, any fault code, again, any fault code that you get, you can clear it out and make sure that the computer doesn't even show it. So here's your other larger item, your vacuum reservoir right here. We're going to take out, and you can see it's really held in by one nut here, and then it's sort of pressed on like a rubber fitting right here also. And there is another hard line coming in there also. So here are your 2 pipes coming from the back. These are right under the windshield on the passenger side, and you can remove those hoses. One of those hoses goes to the reservoir up here. The other hose, I think, goes over to the N80. I can't remember now. We'll take a look at that. All right, so here are those hoses removed. Again, they have these little push, one push right here, and as you push on those and pull it off, you'll be able to remove those hoses from these lines coming from the back itself. And I removed those. All right, next thing you want to do is you want to remove 2 lines here from this sort of, I'm not even sure what that is, but it's like a junction box right here. This is one of the lines that comes actually from the canister in the back. This is one of the lines. Let's just go back here a minute. So one of these lines goes to the reservoir tank, and then the other one actually comes up to this location here. So we're going to remove both of these hoses. They're the ones that are closest to the front of the car. These are actually your gas line hoses right here, so you don't want to remove those. And you can see them over in here, right next to your coolant tank here. They're right in this area. And again, we're going to remove those. And again, there's a little push, just a little push here, push with one finger, and then you can push and remove it. Same thing with this hose over here, you can push there. All right, once you have those removed, you do want to cap those off. And I actually ran the car without securing those caps, so there's really nothing, here to actually push or anything, but it's good to cap them off. I just use some wire ties, you can see there. So just cap those off and secure them. So you want to disconnect the cable from your N80 here, right here, and again, this can be resistored out. I did use a resistor and tucked it back up here around the tank, and actually I moved it down below afterwards, but you can mount it just about anywhere you want. This is one of those store-bought resistors that you can buy. You can make them also. Usually about a 2-watt resistor is fine. It's only seeing maybe 13 volts obviously with our 12-volt battery. And it's probably pulsed. It's only on, for very short term. So you don't need, I've seen a lot of guys use a 10-watt resistor, and I think maybe they use a 10-watt because they stick the leads right in. All right, so here is your canister here. Here is your vacuum reservoir that we're going to remove. Here is one of the hoses that goes back to that one spot that we're going to remove right here. And then again, down in here, there is a nut that you need to remove that basically holds that vacuum reservoir there. Once you get that nut removed, then the front of that reservoir just sort of pressed on with these rubber tabs here. You can just pry that off with a screwdriver. So here's your other connection to that vacuum reservoir right here. And again, it's another one of these push connections. You just push on that and then pull it off, and then you'll disconnect. This is one of those hoses that goes all the way back to under the windshield there. It goes all the way back to the back, and I took this. You can actually feed this through pretty carefully and remove that complete hose then too. All right, so now from that reservoir tank, there is also a line that comes up here and then goes all the way over across the underneath the windshield there, and it connects to the inlet pipe, the tip, and also the intake manifold. So what I did was I removed that hose. You can see it here. Here it is from that reservoir, that vacuum reservoir, and here it is right here. I took that hose off, and I also removed the coolant line right here. I'll show you why. Okay, now here's the vacuum reservoir, and the hose is removed right here. Here's the hose. This goes back to that. This goes back to a solid hard pipe that runs under the windshield, like I said. All right, so here's the hard pipe right here running back through. And what I did was I disconnected that here. You're going to disconnect. This came from the reservoir. Here's the coolant line here. I disconnected that, and I also disconnected it on the other side. So the hard pipe lines, actually, when it comes across here, it goes all the way over then to your intake manifold, and it also goes into the tip right here. All right, so what I did was I took out, now again on this one, I took out the front bar to make it easier. But here's the two pipes that run underneath the windshield, and it's this pipe right here that basically comes down. This feeds to your intake manifold, and then this line connects over to the tip, the intake coming in. So what I did was I removed, there's like 2 bolts here, and you can pull this whole thing out. And what I did was I cut them apart so that I could just put the coolant hose back in. Here's your coolant hose. This is the one that's going to be removed with this extra hose here. So I cut them apart and just put the one back in. So then here is the line, the one line here that goes to the tip right here. And what I did was I removed this hose and removed this valve here. And I got it down to this point here. You can go all the way down to the tip, but it's a little hard to get to, and there's really no sense. And then you want to cap that off I put a little flange in there to connect the pipe and the cap and cap that off. And then the other line connects over here to your intake manifold on top. Now mine's a 225, yours might be a little bit different. But you want to cap that line going into the intake manifold also. All right, so this one's up there with the turbo inlet pipe right there. So that's about it. That's all the hoses and everything out. Now, just a real quick with diagnostics with Maestro. If you're lucky enough to have Maestro, I've converted my car over to run E85, and it's been great. And this Maestro software is really, really nice. Now, you do have the ability to turn off like the secondary air injection and all your EVAP and everything else. Here's leak detection and configuration. You can turn those off. Now I did that and I still got, let's go back here. This is the main screen. This is just sort of amplified here. So you want to go into your diagnostics, and here is the screen. And I turned those off, but I still got some fault codes. So what you can do, you can also, with Maestro, which is really nice, go into your diagnostics menu. Excuse me. And here are fault codes. And if you still show some EVAP systems, what I did was I went into the fault codes, and it'll give you a list of all the different fault codes. Here's your 441 that I was talking about. And then the 449, I think, was maybe even actually in the carb type. So check all your fault codes in both of these parameters here, the fault codes and the fault codes carb type. Look for any fault codes that you're going to see, and then what you want to do is you want to zero that out. If you put a 0 there, that will basically tell the ECU not to look for that fault. So it just sort of deletes that fault code. So with the EVAP system out, you want to basically zero out all your EVAP, or any really that are showing up even after you turned off all the different EVAP systems. Okay. All right, so here's everything removed. Here's your reservoir here, your canister, and again, all the lines. Here's that hard pipe here that I cut out and took out also. Here's your one line that went to the EVAP. So here's some of your valves. So it's about 7 or 8 pounds. Again, warning, you may need it for your emissions, so I wouldn't take it out if you're required to do emissions. And also if, you might get some check engine light codes also with everything out. And if you don't have Maestro, I think they're nuisance codes, so they're going to just show up. It won't keep your vehicle from operating, I don't believe, because they're minimal codes. But, it's nice to have the Maestro or some sort of software to actually turn those off. All right. Thanks for watching. Hope this helped you out just a little bit. I know there's some other videos on this, but hey, during 2020 pandemic, I'm just looking for something to do and to try to help somebody else out. All right. Thanks a lot. Have a good one. Check out some of our other videos. Later, guys. Stay safe.